If you think betrayal is painful, wait until the person you buried 7 years ago suddenly walks into a coffee shop like nothing ever happened. Ash never believed in ghosts. Not until today. Because the moment Chris said the words, "I saw Kiara," it felt like someone ripped his heart out of his chest. He shot up from his chair, shock turning his voice into a dry, broken whisper. You saw Kiara? Are you sure?" Chris didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. He just nodded with an expression that said this isn't a joke. "I'm positive. She was sitting in the coffee shop, drinking a black Americano like she owned the place." In the next second, the fountain pen slipped from Ash's fingers and rolled across the carpet, leaving a long, crazy line of ink behind it, like his entire world had just been scratched open. "Ash, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Ash wanted to answer, but all he could see were the images of Kiara's accident, the photographs, the broken car, the funeral. The day he cried until there was nothing left in him. He swallowed hard. "I don't know. It's just, after everything, this sounds insane." Chris stepped closer. "I spoke to her, Ash, and I swear to you, she's changed. She's not the Kiara we knew." "What do you mean, changed?" "Cold. Aloof. Completely unrecognizable." Ash stared, struggling to breathe. Cold? The Kiara he loved was warm. Gentle. She used to laugh so easily. She would bring him coffee, with a stupid little heart drawn on the cup. But now? Chris was describing a completely different person. "She looked powerful, almost dangerous," Chris continued. "Brown tailored suit, no smile. She stared right through me like I was nobody." The room fell deathly silent. Ash felt like he was spinning. A shiver ran down his spine as one thought crashed into his mind. She's alive. 7 years of grief. 7 years of regret. 7 years thinking she died because of that fake video he received from her stepmother. The video that broke him. The video that made him walk away from her on their wedding day. He ran his hands over his face, trying to calm the storm inside his chest. "We need to find her. We need to find her right now." "But Ash, we don't have any leads," Chris said carefully. "No number. No address. I don't care. We start from the coffee shop. We retrace every single step." Chris saw the fire reignite in Ash's eyes and nodded. From that moment, Ash didn't waste a second. He called his bodyguards, his voice low and urgent. "Come to my office immediately." Discreetly. Within minutes, Sam and Nick arrived and found their normally cold and composed boss on the verge of a breakdown. "What's happened, sir?" Ash's voice shook. I need you to find someone for me. Her name is Kiara." Their eyes widened, pure disbelief. "Miss Kiara? But, sir—" "She's alive," Ash cut in sharply. "She's alive, and I want her found before anyone else reaches her." The guards didn't ask any more questions. They simply nodded and promised to use every resource they had. Chris stayed behind, lowering his voice. "Ash, there's one more thing. The Anderson Enterprise is negotiating a collaboration with the Thompson Company." The temperature in the room dropped instantly. Ash's eyes turned ice cold. He had already blacklisted anyone dealing with Anderson after what they did to Kiara. "So they want to play games?" he murmured, a dangerous smirk curling on his lips. "Then let's play." In the next few hours, Ash wasn't just a broken man looking for his lost love. He became the ruthless CEO again, planning, calculating, preparing to crush every obstacle in his path. But none of those business wars mattered to him as much as one simple truth. Kiara was out there. And no matter how cold she had become, no matter how powerful or distant she seemed, he would find her. He would make her look him in the eyes again. he would tell her the truth. And he would spend the rest of his life fixing the mistake he made on that altar, even if it took everything he had left. Because love doesn't end when someone dies. It ends when you stop fighting for them. And Ash? He had just started fighting. Ash didn't hesitate. As soon as the words, "Dawn, we start from the coffee shop," left his lips, the old version of him, the sharp, calculating one, returned. But this time it wasn't business he was fighting for. It was Kiara. The streets were still quiet when Ash and Chris pulled up outside the small coffee shop. The same one the three of them used to laugh in after long workdays. Ash stepped out first, his heart hammering violently in his chest when he saw the place. The bell above the door rang softly as they walked in. It was almost empty. Only one waitress was wiping the counter. Ash walked straight to her, his voice calm but firm. "Excuse me. Yesterday, a woman in a brown tailored suit sat here. Long black hair. Cold expression. Did you notice where she went when she left?" The waitress blinked. She remembered perfectly, because the moment the woman walked in, the whole place turned silent. She didn't tell us anything. She took her coffee and left. But she wasn't alone. 2 black SUVs were waiting outside. She got in the first one." Ash and Chris exchanged a look. "Which direction did they go?" Ash asked. The girl pointed down the road. "East. Toward the gray zone." That was all Ash needed to hear. The drive felt longer than it really was. As they entered the old industrial district, broken streetlights flickered and rusted factories stood like ruins of a forgotten civilization. The place smelled like rain, iron, and danger. Chris parked behind a collapsed billboard. "You still want to do this?" Ash didn't reply. He stepped out of the car and started walking, his steps sure and steady. They crossed a narrow alley and came out in front of an old textile mill. Cold wind brushed past them. Above the door, the rusted company board still hung, swaying softly. "This is where I saw her," Chris whispered. Ash moved forward and slowly pushed the heavy door open. The inside was huge. Machinery frozen in place, dust dancing through beams of light that fell from broken windows. It looked empty, almost dead. Until they heard it. Footsteps. Ash spun, and his heart stopped. There, at the far end of the room, half hidden behind a broken pillar, stood Kiara. For a moment neither of them moved. It was like time itself had stopped. Ash took one slow step forward. His voice trembled. "Kiara!" She didn't speak. Her eyes flickered, shocked, pained, angry. Too many emotions in one look. But before Ash could say another word, she turned and ran. "Kiara, wait!" Ash chased her down the central passage, dodging debris and rusted machines. The sound of his heartbeat drowned out everything else. She turned another corner, and then suddenly, she stopped. Ash froze too, because right in front of her stood 3 armed men in black tactical gear. One of them spoke into a radio. "Target located. The other one is here too." The second turned toward Kiara. "You shouldn't have come back." Ash stepped in front of her instinctively. "Touch her and I swear I'll." The third man lifted his weapon. "Quiet." Kiara's voice was low, but it made the hairs on Ash's neck stand up. "Step aside, Ash." "What?" "Step aside." He looked at her, really looked. In her eyes there was no fear, only resolve. As he tried to understand, one of the men moved in and struck Ash in the ribs, making him drop to his knees. Kiara didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply watched, her jaw locked tight. Ash coughed hard. "Kiara, who are they?" She didn't answer. The men grabbed Ash by the arms and dragged him backwards. Chris appeared from the other side of the factory, but was immediately surrounded and forced to the ground. Before Ash lost consciousness, he saw Kiara take a step toward him. For a split second, the cold mask slipped, and tears shone in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Then everything went black. When Ash woke up, his wrists were bound, and he was sitting in a dark warehouse, and Kiara stood in front of him. This time, there were no guards in the room. Just the two of them. Ash's voice was cracked and raw. "Why? Why didn't you come back to me?" Kiara clenched her fists, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Because the moment I come back, they'll kill you." Ash's breath caught. "Who?" She looked him right in the eyes. "The same people that killed my father. The same people who made that fake video. The same people who will destroy everything you love, unless I stay away." She took a shaky breath. "And now, they know you're looking for me." Ash stared at her, his heart breaking and burning at the same time. Then he whispered the only truth he had left. "I don't care. Let them come. I'd rather die beside you than breathe in a world where you don't exist." Kiara's tears finally fell, and for the first time in 7 years, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. But outside the warehouse, the men were already loading their weapons. The real war had just begun. The room went dark. Ash didn't move at first. For a split second, he thought he had blacked out again, but then he felt Kiara's hand on his shoulder and heard her whisper in the darkness. "Run! Now!" The emergency lights flickered to life, casting a deep red glow over the warehouse. Voices shouted outside the door, boots pounding against concrete. Ash shot to his feet, the rope around his wrists already cut. Kiara must have done it while the lights went out. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward a side corridor. Chris was already there, half limping but alert. He didn't ask questions. The second he saw Kiara guiding Ash, he turned and led the way down a long metal staircase. Behind them, the main door burst open, automatic rifles cocking, men shouting orders. "Move!" Kiara hissed. They tore through narrow hallways, past stacks of weapons crates and old office rooms. Ash looked over his shoulder. The red light made everything look like a nightmare. Shadows crawling behind them, gunmen flooding in like a dark tide. A bullet slammed into a pipe above, sending sparks showering down. Chris swore under his breath. "Left!" They cut through a broken doorway and burst out into an open loading bay behind the building. Barbed wire fences surrounded the entire yard. Sirens blared in the distance. Kiara shoved a set of keys into Ash's hand. "Black Jeep behind the containers. Go! What about you?" Ash yelled over the sirens. She didn't answer. She turned instead and pulled a small pistol from her boot, aiming it toward the warehouse entrance. "Kiara!" She glanced at him, eyes burning with determination and something softer like regret. "I'll buy you time. Get to the Jeep. I'll meet you at the southern exit." Ash hesitated, but Chris grabbed his arm. "Ash, move!" With one last look at Kiara, Ash ran, sprinting with Chris across the yard, dodging behind heavy steel containers. His breath tore in and out of his lungs, but his feet kept going. They rounded the corner, and there it was. A matte black Jeep with tinted windows, engine still running. Chris slid into the driver's seat. "Get in!" Ash jumped in and slammed the door, just as the first gunshots exploded behind them. Kiara was fighting. Ash could hear it. He could feel it. Chris floored the gas. Metal screamed under the tires as the Jeep shot forward and crashed through the old back gate, ripping it off its hinges. They sped down a cracked asphalt road that twisted between ruins and burnt-out cars. Ash gripped the dashboard, heart pounding. "She said she'd meet us at the southern exit." Chris didn't take his eyes off the road. "And she will. We just need to survive until then. 10 minutes later, the Jeep skidded to a stop beside a crumbling overpass. Ash leapt out, scanning the shadows. Kiara! No answer. Only the rustle of wind. And then, a silhouette appeared, walking slowly from behind a broken cement pillar. Long hair. Brown suit torn at the sleeve. Dust on her face. Kiara. Ash ran toward her before he could stop himself, and for the first time since the moment she disappeared, she let him wrap his arms around her. She rested her forehead against his chest, breathing hard. I told you not to follow me. Ash's voice was soft, shaken and full of relief. And you know I never listen. She pulled back slightly, eyes meeting his. They were full of unspoken things, pain, guilt, affection. This isn't over, Kiara whispered. They'll keep coming. And if they realize who you are. Ash shook his head and held her face gently. Then let them come. This time, we face them together. The rumble of engines echoed in the distance again, more vehicles on their way. Kiara glanced over Ash's shoulder, her expression hardening. She took a deep breath and placed a small silver crest in his hand, a symbol he'd never seen before, shaped like a broken crown. This is the mark of the group hunting us, she said quietly. They're called Oryx, and they won't stop until both of us are dead. Ash closed his fist around the symbol, his jaw clenching with new resolve. Then we stop them first. Kiara nodded slowly, almost like she'd been waiting years to hear him say that. Chris started the engine again. You two ready? Ash climbed into the Jeep with Kiara right beside him. For the first time in 7 years, they were heading in the same direction. And as the Jeep disappeared down the cracked, lonely road, the sun finally began to rise behind them. The real story was just beginning. Ash's hand tightened around the steering wheel as they disappeared into the empty road. Every broken streetlight and abandoned building around them felt like a reminder that nothing would ever be the same. Kiara sat beside him in silence, her fingers brushing lightly against the silver crest in his hand. She didn't need to say anything. The look in her eyes said it all. This isn't over, but at least we're fighting together now. In the rearview mirror, thick clouds of dust rose behind them as another convoy of black vehicles entered the gray zone, men from Oryx searching for a ghost they could no longer control. Ash looked over at Kiara, his voice soft but certain. Whatever they throw at us, I'll stand my ground. Even if the whole world turns against you, I won't take one step back. Kiara's lips parted, and for the first time since 7 years, she smiled. Not the cold, distant smile of the Iron Lady. A real smile, filled with pain, and hope, and love. She reached over and intertwined her fingers with his. Then let's go show them exactly who they're messing with. And right there, in that stolen moment, in an old black Jeep speeding toward the sunrise, 2 broken souls finally chose to fight for each other. And this time, they're not going to lose. Red heart if you want to see what happens next in this powerful story. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.